My Lord and my God, I firmly believe that you are here, that you see me, and that you hear me. I adore you with profound reverence. I ask your pardon for my sins and the grace to make this time of prayer fruitful. My Immaculate Mother, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me. Jesus, when we read the Gospels, we see that really each person's response to you is unique. Every person that you encounter along the way, in your preaching, in your healings, in those miracles, in your day-to-day interactions, each person, each response is different because people reacted to you in different ways. Some responded immediately with faith. Others came to that faith only after a long period of discernment. Some reacted to you with suspicion or even contempt or disdain. And still others with what we could call mere curiosity. Today in our reading, we're presented with the figure of Herod. And Herod, King Herod, is an interesting case because while he obviously rejects Jesus and seems to do so really from the beginning, there is a part of him who is curious and seemingly interested or fascinated. We read from the Gospel of Luke. Now Herod the Tetrarch heard of all that was done, and he was perplexed, because it was said by some that John had been raised from the dead, by some that Elijah had appeared, and by others that one of the old prophets had risen. Herod said, John I beheaded, but who is this about whom I hear such things? And he sought to see him. Now, later we know that Herod did encounter you, Jesus, during the trials just before your passion. And here we can see his curiosity is fully on display. We read, When Pilate learned that Jesus belonged to Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him over to Herod, who was himself in Jerusalem at that time. When Herod saw Jesus, he was very glad, for he had long desired to see him, because he had heard about him, and he was hoping to see some sign done by him. So he questioned him at some length, but Jesus made no answer. The chief priests and the scribes stood by, vehemently accusing him, and Herod, with his soldiers, treated him with contempt and mocked him. Then, arraying him in splendid clothing, he sent him back to Pilate. It's almost a farce, this way that Herod deals with you, Jesus. Herod, who is so superficial and who only views you with a kind of lurid curiosity, hoping that you might perform a miracle for him. He was hoping to see some sign done by him. Reading these passages reminds me of a musical rendition of this character, Herod, where he sings, Jesus, I am overjoyed to meet you face to face. You've been getting quite a name all around the place, healing cripples, raising from the dead. And now I understand you're God. At least that's what you've said. So you are the Christ. You're the great Jesus Christ. Prove to me that you're divine. Change my water into wine. That's all you need to do, and I'll know it's all true. Come on, King of the Jews. Jesus, you just won't believe the hit you've made around here. You are all we talk about, the wonder of the year. So if you are the Christ, you're the great Jesus Christ, prove to me that you're no fool. Walk across my swimming pool. If you do that for me, then I'll let you go free. Come on, King of the Jews. Herod approaches you, Jesus, with curiosity. Curiosity can often be considered a good thing. In fact, much of the process of education for each of us is born of our natural curiosity to learn about things, to learn about new things, to always be learning. This is a good thing. But curiosity can also be a form of selfishness, of overly indulging our own fantasies and escapes, and this need we feel to be entertained. And that curiosity can wind up being an excuse for ever committing to something. We're just kind of flitting about from one curiosity to the next, and we never really settle down. Think of the doom scroll culture where, and maybe we've experienced this, where we're in front of the phone, in front of that screen, maybe late at night, and just scrolling from one silly video to the next. And our curiosity is kind of being fed constantly like a slow drip. One curiosity after the next, and all of them are empty. Herod seeks you, Jesus, but for the wrong reasons. Not the healthy curiosity of one seeking the truth in earnest, but the unhealthy curiosity of one looking to be impressed, to be wowed, to be entertained. Hey, Jesus, if you're the Son of God, then walk across my swimming pool. Show me. Herod wants you, Lord, on his own terms. He wants you to fit like in his pocket, like something he can pull out when he wants a little bit of entertainment. When the founder of Opus Dei, St. Josemaria, was a young priest, he would often give out copies of a little book about the Passion called, I think it was called The Sacred Passion of Jesus Christ by an author named La Palma. And he would give out copies of this book, and in the front page, he would write a little dedication to whoever he was giving it to, where he would say, "May you seek Christ, may you find Christ, may you love Christ." And the first step in that process is to seek the Lord, to seek Jesus. Love always begins with a search, which leads to personal contact, to intimacy. And he would say that it's like courting. When a couple, when they begin to court each other, they're seeking each other out. They need to get to know each other well, for if they don't know each other well, they will not really love each other. And each of us is called to court Jesus. Each of us is called to seek him out, to look for him, to find him. But not in the way that Herod does, because Herod is seeking Jesus out in a selfish way. We live in a world of search engines where we're constantly typing into the search bar of Google whatever it is that we need. Our intellect is constantly active. It's always seeking. When we have a question, we say, well, Google it. And immediately we can pull up the result. But our search for truth is relentless. Right? We're never satisfied until we find the truth. And we can have a kind of restless curiosity that is misguided or that lacks direction. And we can just be kind of going around in circles, constantly looking up things that fascinate us, but that have no real depth. St. Thomas Aquinas distinguishes between a healthy curiosity, which he calls studiositas, which is the virtue of attention, the virtue of studying in depth, which is directed towards the truth. And then if studiositas is a virtue, the vice is curiositas, the vice of distraction, of an unhealthy curiosity, where we're kind of roving around directionless, just moving from one thing to the next. We want to have what Thomas calls studium, a vigorous application of the mind to something, to the truth. We want to be attentive, to have our minds centered. And specifically, and most especially, Lord, we want to have our minds centered on you. What are we thinking about through the day? How can we assure that our minds are centered on the Lord? We can ask our Mother Mary that she might help us to study the Lord, to have the Lord always present before us, to seek Jesus out, not like Herod did with this unhealthy curiositas, but with the true virtue of studiositas. I thank you, my God, for the good resolutions, affections, and inspirations that you have communicated to me in this meditation. I ask your help in putting them into effect. My Immaculate Mother, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me.